A UK judge just put a number on Andrew Tate's finances, and it's not the number he's been selling for years. Court filings, seized accounts, and a magistrate's ruling have laid out exactly what investigators found when they went looking for his money. And it doesn't match the private jets and Bugattis in his videos. This is what came out when the court stopped listening to the claims and started looking at the paperwork. Here's where it starts. A court in London ruled that police could seize the equivalent of $3.3 million in frozen financial assets from Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan to cover years of unpaid taxes. That money had been sitting in 7 bank accounts, frozen by British authorities, belonging to Tate, his brother, and a woman identified only as Jay. The judge didn't hold back either. Chief Magistrate Paul Goldspring said the transfers the brothers made, including almost $12 million to Jay, amounted to a straightforward cheat of the tax authorities. Police lawyers told the court Tate and his brother were serial tax evaders who paid no taxes on around $26.5 million in revenue from their online businesses. That's the headline number people keep quoting, tens of millions in revenue. But that's revenue, not net worth. And that distinction is exactly what's been getting exposed in court after court, hearing after hearing. During the London proceedings, a lawyer representing the police actually played back Tate's own words. She quoted from a video Tate posted online, in which he said, "When I lived in England, I refused to pay tax." That's not a leak, not a rumor. That's him, on record, admitting exactly what the court then ruled on. Tate didn't take it quietly. He came out swinging, calling the seizure outright theft, saying this is not justice. It's a coordinated attack on anyone who dares to challenge the system. He framed the ruling as persecution, but the numbers behind that ruling were the product of actual forensic accounting. Bank records, transaction histories, the kind of evidence that doesn't care how you frame it on social media. Then, in July 2026, things got worse for him in a different courtroom entirely. U.S. Marshals arrested Andrew and Tristan Tate in Miami after British authorities filed for their extradition. Court records from the Southern District of Florida show the brothers were booked, held, and hit with a status conference before a federal magistrate. The government's position in that filing was blunt. Prosecutors argued the Tates should be detained pending extradition because they cannot overcome the strong presumption against bail in international extradition cases. Now here's the part that connects directly back to money. Their lawyers argued in that same filing that Tate's massive public profile actually makes him less of a flight risk, not more, pointing out that their high profile makes it nearly impossible for them to flee, and that they regularly post updates about their locations on social media. Think about that for a second. The defense for a man who spent a decade bragging about hidden fortunes and private security was that he's too broke and too watched to disappear. And Tate himself has been telling a version of that story too, just with different framing. Days after the Miami arrest made headlines, he posted online that for half a decade he's been thrown in and out of jail, travel banned, slandered in the media, with all of his bank accounts frozen and all of his assets frozen. He called it impossible for a normal man with a job and a family to survive, and said the process itself is already a bigger punishment than jail. That's Andrew Tate, the man who once called himself the world's first trillionaire, publicly describing his own financial situation as unsurvivable for a regular person. Whether or not you believe the sympathy angle, the underlying claim is the same one the courts have been documenting for 2 years. Frozen accounts, frozen assets, and very little he can actually touch. Because this isn't new. Back when Romanian authorities first raided his compound outside Bucharest, they didn't find a hidden empire, they found a list. Officials said they'd removed a total of 15 luxury cars, 14 designer watches, and cash in several currencies, with the total value put at about 3.6 million euros, roughly $5.2 million Canadian. Cars, watches, cash. That's a garage and a safe, not a financial empire spanning continents. So from the UK ruling, to the Miami arrest, to his own words on social media, the story keeps landing on the same theme. Every court that's actually looked at his money has come back with numbers far smaller than the ones he's famous for repeating. To understand how we got here, you have to go back to where this all started, Romania, December 2022. When Tate and his brother were first arrested outside Bucharest on human trafficking and rape charges, prosecutors moved fast on the money side too. Investigators from Romania's Asset Recovery Agency said the goods and cash they took were worth roughly 3.6 million euros, and included the 15 luxury cars, the designer watches, and cash in multiple currencies. A blue Rolls-Royce, a Ferrari, a Porsche, and a Aston Martin, the exact fleet that had filled his Instagram for years got towed away on camera. That seizure kicked off a legal tug-of-war that's basically defined Tate's finances ever since. He appealed, and in January 2024, he actually won. A Bucharest court ordered that the asset seizure be reconsidered. Then 2 months later, a different court denied his request to get the cars and luxury items back entirely, ruling that everything seized would stay with Romania's anti-organized crime agency. Back and forth, years of litigation just to determine who legally owns a Bugatti. By early 2025, the picture shifted again. A Bucharest court ruled in his favor on an appeal, lifting the seizure on 6 luxury vehicles, land and properties, and company shares. That sounds like a win, and it partly was, but DICOT made clear the brothers remained under judicial supervision the whole time, still required to answer to Romanian courts, with any bad faith violations carrying the threat of tougher custody measures. Then came the UK case, which is really the clearest window anyone has gotten into the actual scale of Tate's business. Police in that case told Westminster Magistrates Court that the siblings had failed to pay any taxes on £21 million of revenue from their online businesses between 2014 and 2022. £21 million over 8 years sounds like a lot, until you realize that's total revenue for 2 brothers and an entire online business empire. Not personal net worth, and definitely not the hundreds of millions he's claimed publicly. And what the court actually did with that revenue matters just as much as the number itself. The ruling didn't just flag underpaid tax. The judge described the brothers' setup in far harsher terms, concluding their entire financial arrangements were consistent with concerted tax evasion and money laundering. That's forensic accounting language, built off actual bank records, not speculation. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Atlantic, a completely different legal front opened up that tells the same story from a new angle: cryptocurrency. A civil case filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Nevada, Anthony Mitchell versus Emery Andrew Tate III, accuses Tate of running an enterprise that used an AI hackathon and an unauthorized cryptocurrency token to extract money from followers, filed as a civil RICO complaint. Earlier filings in that same case accused Tate of promoting memecoins and then selling off his own holdings as prices peaked, leaving his followers with losses. On top of that, chain analysis from December 2025 flagged something else. Tate's associated wallets had reportedly moved significant sums into privacy protocols, the kind of transactions that raise money laundering red flags rather than confirm any hidden fortune. If anything, it's more evidence pointing toward a man trying to move and hide smaller amounts, not someone quietly sitting on a crypto empire. And then there's the trading. On-chain researchers tracked a hyperliquid account linked to Tate that had racked up roughly $804,000 in cumulative trading losses after a series of leveraged Bitcoin positions went wrong. That single account reportedly fell from around $100,000 down to about $14,000 during one especially volatile stretch. A man who sells crypto courses losing 86% of a visible account in a bad run is its own kind of exposure, regardless of what else he might be holding off the books. Layer all of that on top of the ongoing UK civil trial, where 4 women are suing Tate over allegations of physical and sexual abuse. A case that was moved up to June 2026 specifically, so it wouldn't drag into 2027. Civil trials of that scale come with massive legal bills regardless of the outcome, bills that have to be paid out of whatever is left after the freezes, the forfeitures, and the seizures. So across 3 legal systems, Romania's criminal courts, Britain's tax courts, and America's federal civil courts, the same pattern keeps repeating. Every time investigators actually trace the money, they land on figures that are a fraction of the fortune Tate has spent a decade advertising. So where does all of this leave the man who once told the world he was worth hundreds of millions and joked about being the planet's first trillionaire? The most conservative, core-tankered figure comes straight from Romanian investigators. Back in 2023, DICOT's own assessment put Tate's net worth at approximately $12.3 million, built almost entirely off the cars, watches, and cash agents physically seized. That's the number law enforcement actually stood behind, based on what they could hold in their hands. More recent analysis pulling together everything from the UK tax case to the Miami arrest lands in a similar range, estimating that based on publicly documented assets, court proceedings, and known business revenue, Tate's net worth sits somewhere between roughly $12 million and $50 million. The same analysis is blunt about the ceiling being purely theoretical, noting that figures of $300 million, $500 million, or $710 million are only possible. If Tate controls substantial undisclosed businesses, cryptocurrency, and offshore assets that have never been independently verified, that $710 million number, by the way, is the one that's floated around headlines and comment sections for years. But even outlets that report it acknowledge it's just a frequently cited projection rather than a documented figure, sitting opposite the actual court-traced revenue of £21 million that British investigators pulled from real bank records. It's worth being fair about the uncertainty here too. Nobody, not the courts, not analysts, not Tate himself, has ever produced an audited financial statement. One breakdown pointed out that unlike public companies or verifiable celebrity fortunes, Tate operates private businesses with no obligation to publish financial statements, which is exactly why estimates swing so wildly depending on who's doing the math and what they choose to assume about hidden crypto or offshore accounts nobody's actually seen. But here's the thing about that uncertainty: it cuts against him, not for him. The burden was always on Tate to prove the giant numbers he was the one publicizing. And every time a court, a police agency, or a forensic accountant has actually gone looking for proof, they've come back with seized cars, frozen bank accounts, and revenue figures in the tens of millions, never the hundreds of millions he claimed. One analysis summed up the gap plainly, noting that even under generous assumptions, frozen assets, legal costs, back tax payments, and restricted business operations have materially reduced his accessible net worth, leaving him with nowhere near the fortune he implies, and certainly nothing resembling the trillionaire jokes. That's really what's been exposed here, hearing by hearing, filing by filing. Not necessarily that Tate has zero money. The underlying webcam and subscription businesses genuinely made real revenue, and the UK court itself traced tens of millions of pounds flowing through his accounts over 8 years. But the version of Andrew Tate sold to millions of young men online, the private jets, the Bugatti collection as proof of unstoppable wealth, the trillionaire branding, has been methodically dismantled inside actual courtrooms, replaced by court-verified numbers that top out in the tens of millions, most of it now frozen, seized, or tied up in litigation across 3 countries. He's still fighting all of it. He's still appealing rulings, still contesting the extradition in Miami, still facing the civil trial in London and the RICO case in Nevada, and still posting online, insisting the system is out to get him. But when the actual money gets counted, not claimed, not projected, but counted by investigators with subpoena power and bank records, the number that keeps showing up isn't the empire, it's a fraction of it.